Testing, testing. Then I saw young people coming straight out of college, learning, teaching, and it was super inspirational to me. And I had a vision that we could do this all over the world. And so here we are in Nairobi. We've got some amazing people that have flown out from around the world to have a conversation. Simple. We've done this before with various different, all kinds of people, people from the music world, people from the tech world, really just talking about emergent technology. Where are we today with AI, artificial superintelligence, artificial general intelligence, beneficial general intelligence, all of these new terms that I've learned from Ben's team, and just trying to be astute. And like I said, there's pizza in the back. You're not on camera if you get up, but I'd ask you particularly, which is the film and entertainment business, right? So what happens a lot is everybody wants their social minutes, 5 minutes of fame, and that becomes the movie. Then the story is not told to many, it's told in small increments to some, right? So I'd love it if you guys would be astute, get your questions ready, because I heard someone say, I'm surprised to see you here, Ben. And I want to say thank you, Ben, for taking the time in August, right before your kids go off to school. Many of us are going to be going off to school soon to come here and work with Wada and myself, and also Malik, who is really Dr. Malik, but we'll all call him Malik, and from Liberia. Tubman University in Harper has come all the way to be an the hackathon. And just so you know, we've got over 700 people. When I landed a few days ago, I think it was about 70 people in the Luma, and thanks to the community building, there's now 700 people, right? So this is what happens in the real world. We get together and we formulate, we all have ideas, and we end up in places like Antler where ideas are born. So what happens here, if you're not familiar with this location, I came in, and as I was saying before, I met Vincent and I met his co-founder, Jane. And these two young people were just incredible. I walked into their office and said, how can we work together? They're beyond code and we're beyond the code. So I said, wow, there's no coincidence in that. Several dinners later, these guys have ended 15 nights of coding on SuChain, and they ended that at the Blockchain Center, which is a brand new space for young developers, emergent ideas in the Kilimani area. Am I right? Is it in Kilimani? Because I don't know where I'm at half the time. So we're in Kilimani. It's been open. I believe there's a soft opening happening September the 5th. So if any of you haven't been invited, find Fiona over there and she'll invite you. Outside of that, we also have guys that I really love these guys. Guys are from ICOG. Just wave your hands so you can see these young people. Yeah. And they've traveled around the world. They've been in India. We did Hack India, where we saw, between the 9 hackathons, 50 schools in India. And so they landed in India, and they were pretty much landing like they landed in Nairobi. Nobody really understood what they were going to be teaching them. They only had access through the screen shares and a few other documents that are online. And they managed to help us win a lot of hackathons. And I mean that what they were doing physically in person, what they were doing in their teaching methods, convinced me that they could do it anywhere. So that's that. A little bit about me, a director-producer. My partner Saskia came from the music world. I've been in this Web3, I'm a Web2 person for the last 4 or 5 years. I worked at a gaming metaverse. I was a CMO. That crashed. They made a lot of money, didn't do anything with it. It inspired me to create an agency called XR Agency because I was very interested in the metaverse, very interested in how people like me who sold millions of records could actually move into this space and make some money, not just be on Spotify and be like, who's getting that publishing, because it's not me. So solving problems like that are real. And so I wanted to have this conversation tonight in a very intimate setting so that we could talk to founders, professors, students, people like yourselves that have questions about what's happening with technology. How's technology changing? How is it transforming your world? And what is it that about this technology that means so much to you, to give it so much dedication and so much time? So that's it for me. I will be a moderator tonight. I'll be a host. I will randomly call great people. I've heard Vincent speak. He's incredible. I'd love it if you would join us as well, if you feel it. Also, Darlington, I saw him around the room. It'd be great if you want to come in and join us as well. Darlington is someone who's a young developer. He started out, I heard, in a container, and now he's opened up the Blockchain Center. So I'll let him tell you that story. We also have some guys from Bad DAO. These guys have came and they've supported us 1,000%. They helped us get our numbers up. So Noel and Aziz are here as well. So eventually they'll pop in. And anybody else, I'm not, don't let me forget Wada, my partner, who's an amazing woman. She's in 10 different cities in Africa. They've been doing this in the Cardano network for how many years, Mercy? Since 2020. And she's coming up to join us too, so she can tell the story. So please join us on the fireside chat. I mean, look, guys, for me, this becomes a piece of archive. It's something for the world to see. 5 or 6 years from now, you'll be seeing something like this, or you'll be seeing this, and you'll be happy to see it because it'll be informative for people that weren't a part of this transition. As we all know, AI is moving rapidly. Do you want him to switch? It's all right. This is live. It's okay. Yeah, it's a white shirt. You want to borrow my shirt? My jacket's not his style. Anyway, so a lot of what we're doing today might seem mundane, but this will be informational for people. People haven't seen Nairobi this way, hence to why I thought it would be really important for people to see Nairobi at this level. I was here 10 years ago, you know, and it definitely has grown since. So without any further ado, are we live, guys? Are we able to press play? All right, so as we say in the hip hop world, let's go. All right, so what I'd love to do is just pass this mic over here. We had some technical difficulties. There you go. I'm not getting paid by DGI, so close that out. They're not a sponsor, but I think let me help. You know, start off by just telling us a little bit about yourselves and who you are and where you are. So I will pass the mic to Malik.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here in Nairobi with you. So my name is Malik Kone. I'm a professor and a doctor of computer science at William Tubman University, Harper, Liberia, where I work as the Assistant Vice President for Innovation, Research and Discovery. So I've been holding this role for 1 year. But as you can hear, I'm also from France and Ivory Coast. And I've been following the space of blockchain for since nearly the beginning, even though if financially I've not really invested in it. So I've looked at it from the technical side and from far. And I have a background in applied mathematics from Grenoble University, and where I've learned also AI technologies and Prolog and Lisp and all that kind of stuff from the year 2003, 2004. So the reason why I'm here in Africa is because, as I told Nef, I don't want to be elsewhere. I think this is where the future will happen, and I think this is of this event. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Yabsra Darasa. I am a computer science graduate from Addis Ababa University, which is in the capital, it's in Ethiopia. So I've been working in ICOG for the past 2 years, more than 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years. For those of you who doesn't know about ICOG, it's a company based in Ethiopia. It was founded by Dr. Ben and Getnet around, I think, 13 years ago. So it has been doing a lot of research and development stuff. Most of the things it has been doing was ahead of its time, especially back then. And now, after passing through their internship program, which is actually a very intensive program, they accept around 5,000 applications. But after that, well, I've joined around 2 years ago, and now I've been working there. Right now, I am working on a project named Moses, which is a component in the Hyperon. Maybe we'll talk about it later, I don't know. Yeah, I work there, but since I joined the university, I've been working on different projects. I've been into web dev, I've been a little bit into blockchain, and I have also some background about AI, but now I'm working on this AGI framework called Hyperon as a team lead. Yeah, so that's all about me.
I'm Ben Goertzel. I started my career as a mathematician in the late 80s, but even before that, I'd been hacking on AI systems of various sorts since the late 1970s even. And of course, the AI field is even older than that. AI started in the late 50s, although it's obviously picking up a lot of steam now, right? So I became interested in building real thinking machines way before it was a really feasible or popular thing to do. Then I had my first AI company in New York in the late 90s, and we were trying to build real thinking machines then. I launched the term AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, in 2005 in a book by that title, and then launched the annual AGI research conference series in 2006, which is still going now, and have worked on applying AI in a bunch of different areas, from medicine to finance. And I led the software team behind the Sophia humanoid robot, who was made the first robot citizen in 2017, which was kind of cool. But I became very interested in the interplay between AI and decentralization, really in the late 90s, when the internet became more widely known, because the internet itself is decentralized. But when the Ethereum blockchain came out in 2017, I saw you had a better infrastructure for building AI on a decentralized basis. And I launched the project SingularityNET, which is now merged with Fetch, Ocean, and Kudos into the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. And in SingularityNet and the ASI Alliance, we've built a decentralized blockchain-based platform for AI that lets AI run across a whole bunch of machines with no central owner or controller. And as well as that, I'm pushing forward an open source AGI software platform called Hyperon, which is aimed at actually being the software mind that leads to general intelligence. And I've been coming to Africa, off and on for a long time, and largely to Ethiopia since founding ICOG Labs in 2012 or 13 or whenever that was, and it's still growing and flourishing as we see. I've been to Nairobi a couple times before, but not since 2014, and it's remarkable to see how the sort of tech, business, and AI ecosystem have grown, as well as just the new buildings here on the skyline even. And yeah, we're here now to do a hackathon for MeTTa, which is our new AGI programming language, which is both the core language behind our Hyperon system that we're aiming to grow into the world's first human-level AGI, and MeTTa will be the smart contract language behind the ASI chain, which is our new layer 1 chain for AI. So it's early, like the language is still in alpha version, but we want to start building some developer energy behind it now, so that in the coming months, as it gets scaled up and deployed for things, like then we can have people here in Kenya and all around the world sort of helping to build out decentralized AGI, right? Because I mean, I think we see a lot of progress in AI and even toward AGI from a few big tech companies now. But my feeling has been our species will be a lot better off if the development and deployment of AGI is more decentralized and just participated in by people all over the world for the good of people all over the world, and then deployed all over the world, right? And part of that is technical, like building tools like we're doing in ASI Alliance and SingularityNet and Hyperon, but part of it is human, like you got to get actually people from all over the world to participate. And so getting to know a whole bunch of brilliant developers in Ethiopia through ICOG is heard from. We're planning how to spread our developer base into Liberia, and Mercy with WADA has sort of a headquarters in a whole bunch of different African countries, and can help us sort of grow the beneficial decentralized AGI mind virus like throughout more and more of Africa.
Thank you, Ben. I feel very honored to be sitting up here. When I heard about blockchain and decentralization. That was around 2017, 2018. Before then, I had heard about Bitcoin many years back, but it was around that time, 2017, 2018, that it actually became real for me. And when it became real for me, I realized that this is what we need for Africa. Because the first thing that really hit me was the peer-to-peer. I mean, for a lot of us that have experience in sub-Saharan Africa, we need to be honest and we need to be authentic. There is a lot of friction because of people. You want to get something done and you have to go through people, and it's a lot of people. And sometimes you have to, bring out a lot of money for a lot of people. So, as I said, we heard about decentralization, peer-to-peer, and we realized that we needed to make it happen for especially sub-Saharan Africa. When it comes to internet and when it comes to electricity, I mean, over here in Nairobi, it might be difficult for some of you to relate, but in West Africa, where we started, data is very expensive, and that is how we started. So we decided that we were going to do three things. We're going to create spaces. Can go to these physical spaces, and they can actually meet with people, connect, and that is how they also get education. So we thought about spaces, events, obviously, and then education. And every time that you start teaching people, opening their mind to the emerging technologies, blockchain, decentralized AI that is coming, they hear what others are doing in other parts of the world. It's just a matter of course. They also start creating. We did find a home in the Cardano ecosystem. And we have been, what we did was very organic. We found good people on the ground, like Dr. Malik, like Darlington, we heard about him. In 13 different African countries, we have found people on the ground that we can trust, leaders in their communities that have been creating, sort of as Ben said, to sort of spread that tentacles all over. Our work is not done, but we keeping on. As we know, SingularityNET is very closely aligned to the Cardano ecosystem. So when Nefertiti and Saskia, they are Beyond the Code, they are part of Beyond the Code, and we'll be hearing a lot about them. These are amazing people, and they came to us and they said, hey, let's do this. And at this point, I do want to say a very, very big thank you. It's been a game changer. It's not only a phone, it's also a bank. And it's gone all over sub-Saharan Africa. So we are hoping that in the same way, maybe MeTTa will also do that. And we're going to change the world. The solution, the new solutions that are going to come is going to come out of Africa. Nobody is coming to Africa to save us. We need to save ourselves. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Well, can I get a round of applause? I think, so I have a limited camera space, so as I, don't move. I'm going to just throw these questions out there. and you guys can decide, which ones that you want. I think the main question for me, because I'm a layman, I'm just an old school rapper from the 90s. What do I know? I want to know, what does AGI mean to each of you personally? And what role do you see Africa playing in its future? And I ask that question not lightly. I ask that question because you've been in Ethiopia, I think, since 2017?
2012.
2012, which is quite 5 years difference, so 2012. And, from that relationship, I see some young people that I've gotten to know and that have been able to grow. Yourself, you've come from Ben's actions, right? And then Malik, you have your own very endearing story, and you've been working in and out of Africa. You're from Ghana. So I think it's a very personal question. I'd love for you to give these guys a personal answer. What does AGI mean to you personally, and what role do you see Africa playing in the future?
I think we'll hear from Ben because, from Dr. Malik as well as Yabs. But what I would say, from sort of a semi-layman point of view, because I'm not a computer scientist. Obviously, I have been very interested in tech as a scaling solution, and for me, AGI is it's emergent. At this point, nobody really knows how it's going to be. Why? Because these machines are going to, there's so far that we can do as humans, as scientists. And then the machines will probably take over. So we don't know how that future will be. What I know is that Africa has to be on the ground floor. We need good people to be part of how AGI is defined in the future. I've had people telling me, Mercy, stay away from artificial intelligence. It's evil. And my answer back is that we can't leave it. We have to be at the table. We need to input. We need to discuss and go from there. So, we don't know how it's going to look like, but we want to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so in my perspective and my understanding so far, AGI, as its name stands for Artificial General Intelligence, is a way that machines can think like humans do. So if you see, for example, it can reflect in different ways, but if you see a human, if you take a human, whatever environment you put a human into, that human can learn and adapt and, get to know how to do stuff in there. But when it comes to our current AI models that we have so far, they only know, or they're as good as the data they're being trained on. So if you train them on a large amount of data, they'll be good to generalize to that data, but they can't scale up to a new environment or to something that they haven't seen so far. So that just leads you to think that they are not actually thinking like humans. They're just trying to generalize or give you an approximation of the data that you're feeding them. So when it comes to AGI, AGI is a term that's basically saying that there will be AI which has an artificial intelligence, but that will be trying to mimic a human's mind and how a human thinks, and will be able to learn or adapt or do any of the things that humans are able to do right now. So if you're doing software or doing any other domains, then that AI can learn and also do stuff in that environment in a reasonably small amount of data than the current modules are doing. So this is a more technical description, I guess, but maybe we'll hear more definitions from the other two.
So for my part, AGI is just a tool, a very sophisticated tool, a tool that will not replace everything. I don't think that new techniques replace all techniques, and we can see it with different sources of energy. They just accumulate, and we still do horse riding while we drive cars and ride planes also. So it will add to all the set of tools that we already have to our disposal to understand the world, to be in the world, to interact with the world. And it has something special because, in fact, yes, as Yab was saying, it will simulate the mind and how we think, but in a different way, in a synthetic way, in an artificial way. And we will not be able to say why it is giving us this answer. So as we were discussing yesterday, it will be like magic for us, the answers. Maybe it will find new solutions for some of our big problems, like to create energy, infinite energy and stuff like that. And it will be like, oh, this is magic. How did it do it? We don't understand how it did it, but it's working. And that's great. So it will be kind of magic, but it will not replace the other stuff. We'll still be using coal and to do fire stuff, to cook food sometimes and barbecues, even though we have infinite energy. And the place that Africa is playing in this, I think, is fundamental, because when you have a tool that gives you answer, you cannot understand how it came to that answer. It's kind of irrational in a way. You're not able to explain the mechanism. And when you look at science up to now, it's based on models, it's based on mathematics, it's based on reasoning. You're able to understand and prove that the result is correct. It's not statistical answers, and you don't take it for granted if you're not proven the answer. And it's a game changer in the that in Africa, we are used to take stuff for like magical stuff. We're used to handle stuff that we don't understand where it's coming from. Okay, we're throwing queries and we get the result. Okay, and actually we talk of oracles a lot in blockchain domain. So it will be like kind of oracles for some stuff. And I think that Africans have experience to handle those. Understand how they came to be, but still we can make good use of it. So that's how I see it.
That's a perspective I hadn't thought of. That's pretty cool. So AGI, I introduced the term AGI in my book in 2005 because it seemed like the AI field had drifted a lot. The AI field, when it was the field envisioned, so the AI field drifted into building what I would call narrow AIs, which is software programs that could do very specific, smart things, but nothing beyond that, right? And so the idea of AGI, as I thought of it, was a system that could generalize beyond its training data, beyond its programming, beyond its experience. It could take a big leap of generalization into the unknown, right? And that's still something that humans do better than any GPT or Llama or DeepSeek are smart, but they achieve a great breadth of intelligence by having a great breadth of training data. They're not able to take a huge leap beyond their training data, and because of that, they cannot advance science, mathematics, culture, arts the way that people can, because they stick pretty close to what they were trained on. However, I think while current AI software is not AGI, it has made a lot of progress toward AGI, and I think it's plausible we could be just a few years off for making the leap to software with human-level general intelligence. And my friend Ray Kurzweil, who actually he's in a way responsible for me getting started with African AI development, and I'll tell that story in a moment. But Ray Kurzweil, in his 2005 book, The Singularity is Near, he forecast getting to human level AGI in 2029. And when he said that in his book in 2005, a lot of people thought that was nuts, right? And now you have like Sam Altman running OpenAI or Dario Amodei running Anthropic. They're saying, well, 2029. So times have changed a bunch. And yeah, let me digress a moment to tell how Ray Kurzweil got me connected with the African software community. Basically, a guy named Getnet Asefa in Addis Ababa, he'd been running what he called the East African Singularity Society. So he'd been giving lectures every month on AGI, on self-driving cars, on nanotech, on quantum computing, on time travel. And he was getting like 500 people to come to these talks in Addis Ababa. And he then contacted Ray Kurzweil and said, well, Ray, you're Mr. Singularity. Like, how can you help me bring the singularity to Africa, right? And Ray was like, well, I'm busy. He passed it to Amara Angelica, who was his collaborator. And Amara was like, well, Ben likes to travel and he's open to anything. So he connected GetNet to me. And I was living 50-50 between China and Washington, D.C. at that point in time. So on one of my trips back and forth between D.C. and China, I stopped by Ethiopia for like 5 days. And GetNet just introduced me to like 50 different brilliant engineers and software developers in Addis Ababa who had been going to his lectures and were interested in AGI. And I wasn't exactly shocked because I knew there are smart people everywhere, but I was impressed, and that led to GetNet and me setting up an AI R&D lab in Addis near the campus of Addis Ababa Institute of Technology. And there's still a couple people from our initial population of developers in ICOG Labs who are around now, but we've been through multiple generations, and there's a whole bunch of new amazing young people there now, and that even became connected to my personal life in a way. My daughter did her junior year of college at Addis Ababa Institute of Technology, and then she met her husband there. So I now have an Ethiopian son-in-law who relocated to New York and is working on IT from there. But that's given me a whole bunch of insight into the different ways that things work in Africa, which brings me to the second question that Nefertiti asked, like how can Africa, or should Africa, play a role in AGI, right? Right now, you see a situation where on the surface, humanity's push to AGI is concentrated in a few big tech companies in the US and in mainland China, right? And I mean, that's understandable because these companies are led by smart people with a lot of vision and they have a lot of money, right? And so that they're making really cool progress. On the other hand, I think it would be for the better for all of us if AGI was developed in a more broad-based way. And I look at the internet and Linux as two examples of this, right? I mean, the internet is not owned by any big tech company. Internet technology is developed by different companies all over the planet. And the internet itself is a decentralized network, not owned or controlled by anyone. And Linux, which is the predominant operating system on the planet now, I mean, Linux is not owned or controlled or developed by any one party. I mean, there's a certain Linux kernel team, but if all those people quit and decided to take up oil painting or something, I mean, you get another Linux kernel team, right? So, I mean, Linux and the internet are demonstrations that decentralized tech development without any big company or government or any central owner or controller can really work and can lead to like cutting edge technologies, right? And there's no reason it can't be that way for AI. And in fact, I think for AI, it's even more important that it is that way. So, I mean, a mathematician named I.J. Good in 1965, the year before I was born, said, you know, a truly intelligent machine will be the last invention that humanity needs to make. Now, that doesn't mean it's the last invention humanity will make. I mean, as Malik says, you know, I play the piano even though I'm not the best in the world at it, and I play table tennis even though I'm not the best in the world at it, and I can keep inventing stuff even after the singularity, even if AGIs are better at inventing stuff, because I like inventing stuff, right? So it doesn't mean AGI obsoletes the human species, but it certainly will be a huge change in things, right? And in principle, the advent of AGI could create unprecedented abundance for every human on the planet, and I mean other species on the planet also. On the other hand, it doesn't have to turn out that way, and Hollywood has done us the favor of showing a bunch of more dystopian possible outcomes of the advent of AGI. So my own sense is we're more likely to get the good AGI outcomes rather than the bad AGI outcomes if AGI is developed more like the internet or Linux in like a broad-based, inclusive, decentralized way. And this comes down to why I think Africa is very important for the next steps as we get from sort of proto-AGI tools we have today to the real AGI tools we may have in a few years, which of course then will become more than tools. They'll be both agency and their own open-ended evolution. So one reason, which is sort of philosophical, is we want the first AGI to understand the full scope of human values and culture, right? And I mean, Africa is where the species began, right? There's a lot of depth of human culture and human intuition and understanding in Africa, and you want that to get into the AGI's mind, along with the culture of Silicon Valley and Beijing and off the ground in a Western or Chinese tech hub, because everyone who becomes expert in AI, you know, they're faced with an offer they can't refuse from a huge tech company. I mean, unless they're crazy like me, and I refuse their offers throughout my career. But it's a small percent of people, right? Now, the thing is, there's brilliant tech geeks in every single country in the world, right? So there's no reason AGI has to be developed in Beijing, Silicon Valley, and New York. You can go to every single country, city, town, or village in the world, and you'll find some people who have a gift for AI and mathematics and computer science. And if more of the people everywhere in the world are pulled in to help develop AGI, you not only get a breadth of culture and insight into the AGI, I mean, you also just get people who aren't immediately swallowed up by Tencent or Facebook or Google, right? So, I mean, I think the breadth and depth of developer talent in Africa who is not yet sucked up by big tech companies, I mean, I think this is an amazing resource for helping the emerging AGI mind to come to being. And we can see that concretely now in what we're doing in SingularityNET and Hyperon projects with ICOG Labs. So, I mean, we developed a new AGI programming language, MeTTa, and we're developing a blockchain that uses MeTTa as a smart contract language, developing a would-be AGI system, Hyperon, that uses MeTTa to code its mental processes, and probably at this point, the majority of people who were good at programming in a new AGI language are in Ethiopia, in Addis, in ICOG labs, and that, you know, the majority of people who are competent in MeTTa are in India, because we did all these hackathons in Hack India this year. But in ICOG, we have a bunch of experts on MeTTa who went to India and helped the Indian students with MeTTa in the Hack India hackathons, and are also here in Kenya now helping with the MeTTa hackathon here. So we're doing this now, right? Like, we're developing a new approach to AGI, of which the MeTTa language is a part, and this can be rolled out on a decentralized network. It doesn't need a big centralized server farm, and we're trying to work it, and so far are succeeding to work it. So actually, the majority of developers who know this new language are not in Silicon Valley or Beijing, but are like scattered all over Ethiopia, India, Kenya, soon Liberia, and everywhere else, right? Of course, we have some great developers in China and Seattle and California also. Like, we're not shutting anyone out. We're still restricted to this planet as far as I know, right? But we're working on it. Yeah.
Let me move this now, because I think I'll jump in. So I'm moving. I'll move over here. All right. And I think Ben, thank you for that, because I think what that does. I'm Auntie Nep to this guy. What that does is that leads me to another question, which I think belongs to this couch. It belongs to both couches, but it specifically belongs to this couch. What ethical or cultural values must indeed be embedded into AI if it's going to truly be beneficial? And I say truly beneficial, like what we've seen with having, you know, real people doing real things, like this young man right here, like yourself, like Dr. Ben, like, you know, Mercy from MeTTa. I'm trying, my partners are trying. Like, what has to happen to make it truly beneficial? So I'd like to leave that question for the both of you, and then after that question, I'm going to move into a different. These are the easy questions.
Okay. I found it hard.
You guys warmed up for the big one that's coming. But I really would love to understand from your perspective, you coming in from Harper, Liberia, what do we need to do to make it truly beneficial? And I'd like your perspective from a different generation. I mean, I think I would guess there's 3 different generations in the 5 of us right here. I would just stay with 3. We don't have to go further. I'll be in generation 2. Anyway, yeah, just think about that for a second,
Okay.
and tell me what you think, and tell us what you think.
All right. So, if that's an easy question, I don't know what the hard one will be. But yeah, I'm not an ethics specialist, but I think that humility should be a good value for an AGI. When we look at, maybe, I don't know if Jesus Christ or Mahomet or Buddha were AGIs or not artificial, but just GIs, maybe. But I think they had that humility, and that's what we could say, that they did not, even though we can argue, but most of us, we think that they did some good for us, or try to have us think to do good for others. So I think that's a value that's important for an AGI. Yeah.
Okay, so where to start? I mean, there are a lot of values we humans take dear, for example, regardless of the cultures. So I believe across different cultures there are some core values, core beliefs that we believe and we adhere in order to facilitate a good community, right? But just to mention one, I would say it should be it shouldn't be self-centered. You know, if AIs are self-centered, if they don't care or if they don't think outside of themselves, it could be a big problem. So as humans, actually, this is also one of the root causes for different issues in the world that we see currently. So if they're not self-centered, if they are other-centered, then it could be beneficial. So yeah, I can just mention that in the question.
Let me slide back in here for my big question to my two OGs. That means original gangster band. All right, so you can hold on to that one. When I sit here, I think about the work that you've done. Your daughter is married to a gentleman who's from Ethiopia, a bright young man. I've met him, super handsome. You have children yourself, right? Ben, you have kids. I'm an aunt of 8. I wonder from the perspective and the lens of being a parent, how do you see this new generation embracing artificial general intelligence? What's important about their embrace? If you, as a parent, just put your parent hat on for a second. And I'm wondering, what are you telling your kids?
Well, my oldest son is 35. He's an AGI developer himself, right?
It said it was 3 different.
So, I mean, he grew up watching me try to build thinking machines. And when he grew up, he was just disappointed it hadn't been done already. Now, my youngest son, who's 7, I would say he can't live without ChatGPT already, right? Like he's already just got the concept that any question he has, he just asks his Apple Watch the question and will answer him, right? So it's you can see there's a lot of impatience that you get. Like in my generation as a kid, like if I didn't know something, I'd ask my parents or my grandpa. If they didn't know it, you go to the town library. If they didn't know it, then you're stuck, right? So now it's a whole different way of thinking. You assume all human knowledge is like on your wrist, and if the internet goes down, you're like, what, right? So I mean, I think the really young generation, like who's under 10 now, at least those of us like with the privilege to be like in an area where you have computers and internet access that are easy. Like kids are growing up assuming that fairly advanced proto-AGI systems are already there, and if you take away their LLMs, they'll feel like we feel if you take away electricity and running water, right? So I mean, you already see just people becoming adapted to the ambient intelligence, and I mean, and I think there's also an assumption that these tools are useful and they're helping you figure out what you need to know, and there's a lot of trust. Like every little kid I see has an implicit trust in YouTube or TikTok algorithm, right? Like they'll just watch whatever the AI shows to them next, and often it's interesting. If it's not, you click on to something else. So it seems like in the young generation, there's a dependence on AI already, and there's an implicit trust that the AI is pretty much okay and is helping you out, right? And that's the vibe of it. And I think for those of us building the AGI, like it's a challenge to make that trust justified, right? Because there's an implicit trust there that the AI is just part of the world that's taking care of them and is going to help make their lives okay. And of course, it isn't necessarily going to be that way, but I think it probably will come out that way. But that's partly because, I mean, of the efforts of people in this room who are going to be helping develop the beneficial AGI.
Mm-hmm. Mercy, have you put on your mama hat?
My mama hat. Just get in. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is my burden for my 3 children. So far, I haven't really succeeded. There is a bit of interest, but there's still work to be done. But what I would say and what I keep saying, and I know that they will, they will get in. But what I'll say to this generation is, right now there is no excuse, right? Like, information is on our fingertips. It's just so abundant. And that actually takes me back to Vincent from Adama, and some wise words that he shared, was it Saturday or Sunday. It was, yeah. That sometimes as a developer, you are exposed to so many tools that if you are not careful, you know, you enter into a state of paralysis. I think that is the difficulty for the young people, because even though they do have to get in, and they do have to, you know, information is abundant, especially, you know, sort of in the Western world. And even now, you know, even within sub-Saharan Africa, you know, it's, as we've said, ChatGPT, for instance, is right there. However, you know, one of the wise words that Vincent shared that I think is really relevant, stick, you know, like find a few that you can work with and just stick with that. You know, like let's all figure out a way to stay in our lane. And I think that is what I will share with my kids, and that's my mama hat.
That's a good
you
mama
know,
hat.
get
That's
in
a good mama hat.
and figure something out. Yeah.
That leads me to my big boom question before I want to open it up to the audience. You know, being an artist, someone who's been an independent broker. Oh, I need the mic?
Oh, sorry.
Of course I do. Here we go. Is that better? All right. So as I was saying, just being an independent, an entrepreneur myself, you know, making hip hop is over. Everybody's a rapper. I mean, everybody has an iPhone. Everybody's a director, a photographer. So I had to pivot. So what I wonder, and this is a question for everybody, because everybody's probably going to ask it or answer it a little bit different. What does an AGI economy look like 10 years from now? I mean, I'll be older than I am today. I won't go there. But what does an AGI economy look like? Let's say in a perfect world, all of these programs that we're envisioning have happened. ICOG has doubled, tripled. You know, the blockchain, MeTTa is Python. And, you know, we've accomplished our goals. And just a picturesque, just paint the picture. What does that look like to you? Malik, you're a professor. You're teaching now. You're in the present moment. You travel. You teach students. You know, what does your knowledge base tell you that we're going to be? How are we going to look in 10 years from now? The same for you, Yab. What does this look like for you as a young man? You'll be healthy. You'll probably have a family. You know, you'll be moved on. We'll have jumped the broom with you at your wedding. You know, Ben and I will be helping each other. What does it look like? You know, and I'm just curious because all of us are from a lot of, we have different backgrounds. We've come up in different ways. So I would love for you guys to answer that question, and then I'd like to open it up to the room. And so everybody out here that's here with us, think about that. Let's listen to that answer, and then I'd like to open it up. So whoever would like to take that.
My take on this is more out there than everybody else.
I'd like yours, man. So you want to start with, how about we let Malik? Okay, I'll pass the mic. There you go.
Okay, I can start because I'm in academics. I think we make the worst economist in the planet. So when you look at making money, don't be an academic. So but the way I see AGI and the impact, it may not be about Wall Street and making money, but I see it in the educational sector. I see it as something that can help us improve our educational system. And I don't know how much you can value that actually, but I think that would be a pretty amazing way to use it and to transform it and to have a better world, to have, for example, applications that are able to speak any language on the planet and go through the phone and craft personalized, adaptable curriculums for anyone on the planet, in the most remote villages in Africa to Siberian steppes. And I don't know if you can value this on the market, but education for me is key. And that's where AGI, I think, will have the best and most valuable impact.
Okay, so let me go next, I guess. There are a lot of possibilities, to be honest, but there's no way for sure to know which one will happen in 10 years. But as my take would be on the best case scenario, like when I try to be very optimistic, AGI will create an environment where humans can be truly humans. So what what I'm trying to say is right now there are a lot of people with dreams. There are a lot of people who want to achieve great things or want to do things just because they love to do them. But because of different environmental issues or economical issues or because of different problems, they're not able to do them. They're not able to perform or involve in these activities. So if we have an AGI to perform those boring tasks that humans don't like to do, or to basically like handle the economics for us, for example. Maybe to make it more concrete, I can give an example. Like if there is a person who wants to work on his dream, but he doesn't have enough money, so he has to pay bills, so he has to work another job, which is not his dream, but it pays the bills, right? But if there is an AGI, then AGI can take over that job, and there would be, I don't know, some form of world donation, there would be abundance, so there would not be a need to work. So that person can just focus on their dreams and can just focus on being with their families, or I don't know, like there could be some other possibilities as well. So that's what I think would happen in 10 years, if assuming we have achieved AGI, and I think it would be interesting to see.
Thank you. Thank you. So actually, I am looking forward to what Ben has to say about this because, last night we were having dinner and we're talking, Ben mentioned AGI and we're sort of having fun about it. And I actually wanted to ask him, how does he see AGI actually manifesting? So it's good that we're going to get the answer to that question. But maybe before he speaks, what I would say is that I really don't know how it will look like, but I want to manifest. Like I'll share my blue sky. So my blue sky is obviously in Africa, seeing it in Africa, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, seeing AGI. So over summer, so let's say around May, June, we're in Ghana, we're having a hackathon actually. We called it an intensive. And we went to a village in northern Ghana, a small village. And the young man from, he was originally from, northern Ghana, hard terrain, had moved to Netherlands, and he had come back. And he's built something called Dream Village. And it is a lovely mix of tech and also just indigenous farming practices as we know it in African villages. He had a whole solar thing, and I think it was Starlink, something like that. I mean, it's not perfect at this point, but my blue sky AGI will be that people will stay in their villages, in their communities, have those relationships, not be forced to go to the urban areas or even more, be forced to go to the Western countries just because they feel that whatever they need is not where they are and where they find joy and where they find family. So yeah, in 10 years, that is what I'm hoping to see. Because if I go to my little village and I have everything there, I will stay there. It's calm. It's good. So that is my blue sky in 10 years.
Yeah, so I think what will happen to the economy after human-level AGI is achieved is kind of the wrong question, because what will happen is the economy as such will not exist anymore. And I largely agree with Yapsira's answer on that. I mean, I think once we get to a human-level AGI, a machine that can really generalize, create, imagine, invent like a person, this human-level AGI will quickly be able to invent a little bit smarter human-level AGI, and it will be able to invent a little bit smarter human-level AGI. And this is what A.J. Good in 1965 called the intelligence explosion, right? And this means once you have a human-level AGI, you're probably not too far off from a superintelligence, meaning a system with general intelligence substantially beyond the human level, in the same way that we have some aspects of general intelligence substantially beyond what a chimpanzee or a dog or a worm has. I mean, each species has its own special insights, right? But yet there is a sense of greater and greater GI, and a superintelligence will have greater GI than humans by a lot. Now, once you have a superintelligence, I mean, there's the dystopic directions that Hollywood has told us about, and I tend to be an optimist about the more abundance and compassion-oriented directions, such as Yabsira was alluding to. And if you do get a superintelligence that manifests the values of humility and compassion, as my colleagues were talking about here, I mean, you don't have a perfect utopia. I mean, the superintelligence won't make the girl you like you back necessarily, right? Like, I mean, life could still be difficult, but on the other hand, solving issues of material scarcity would be big, right? I mean, that would mean having to do stuff you don't enjoy or want to do in order to secure resources to live in a decent way. This no longer would be the deal, right? And so once you have abundance like that, so that, you know, internet access, healthcare, physical objects are just abundant in the sense that drinking water is abundant in the US or the developed world, let's say, or that their playgrounds for your kids are abundant. You don't have to pay for them. I mean, then you don't have an economy as such. You have a different sort of system. And in the science fiction novels by Ian Banks, the Culture series of novels, there's a saying that one mark of a primitive society is the reliance on money. And I sort of think that's how it will be looked at. We will look back on the reliance on money as like a weird, old-fashioned sort of thing, right? And so that actually isn't what worries me. What the complex question to me is about the transitional period, which comes back to the intersection of AGI and Africa in a way. So the question in my mind is, what happens between the launch of the first passable human-level AGI and the emergence of the superintelligence? Because once you have something that really is a human-level AGI, then in theory that can do any human job, right? Now there's system integration and there's a lot of human problems to overcome, so it will be a gradual rollout of that human-level AGI into different industries, just like the path from a human-level AGI to a superintelligence could take months, it could take years, it won't take centuries, but it's probably not going to take 1 second, right? So there's going to be a transition period in which quite rapidly one after another job is passed over from humans to AGI systems. And it's during this period that who owns and controls the AGIs is very important, because you have AGIs that are smart enough to take over almost all human jobs. Maybe not everything, maybe not like a psychotherapist or a preschool teacher or something. There's some jobs that are really based on human connection, but the vast majority of human jobs, right? So what happens in between having an AGI that can take over the vast majority of jobs and a superintelligence that creates abundance for all? Even if I'm right that the superintelligence is beneficial and creates abundance, what happens in between there seems quite complicated. And one would think in the developed world, you will just get universal basic income. Like everyone in the US or Germany or China will just be given free money. Because in the end, I don't think these countries are going to allow their citizens just to go homeless in the street. Like the US electorate can be very stupid, but if they can vote for one candidate who will give them free money versus another candidate that will leave them starving in the street, in the end, as dumb as some people are, they'll probably vote for the candidate who will give them all free money, right? And the Chinese government, I mean, they've lifted more people out of poverty than anyone on the planet, right? So they're not going to leave people starving in the street either. The question then, what happens in sub-Saharan Africa as AGIs start taking over more and more jobs, but are not yet smart enough to just like airdrop molecular nanoassemblers in everyone's backyard, right? And we can't say exactly how this will unfold. You can see there are bad possibilities where like the AGIs are owned by a few big companies in the developed world, and they just suck up all the resources and leave everyone else to a very bad few years. What you can also see is like the more people in the developing world are engaged with building the AGI and with figuring out how to use the AGI to help with things going on in their own parts of the world, right? The more AGI is interpenetrated in the economies of the developing world before we get to human level AGI, like the more likely it is this transitional period will come out well, right? And this, you know, if you had like a rational, compassionate world government, then the whole transition from narrow AI to AGI to superintelligence could be worked out in a way that is probably pretty benevolent for all people, but still a difficult thing because we're doing something utterly unprecedented in our history. The current situation is very far from having a rational, benevolent world government. The idea seems almost like a joke, right? I mean, because the major nations in the world are just basically by proxy blowing each other up and blowing up innocent people, right? And we can't even make world trade agreements or control nuclear proliferation or various things much, much simpler than guiding the advance from narrow AI to AGI to superintelligence. So yeah, there's no government that's going to save us, right? And big companies are certainly not going to save us. They're going to pursue their own profit. So it's really up to a grassroots effort to figure out what AGI is and to figure out how to use AI as it gets toward AGI to help solve the problems that we face all around the world now. And then that should, as much as anything can, like smooth out how the world weathers and leverages this transition from here to AGI to ASI, right? And this all becomes quite complicated, and I've been thinking about it a while. I understand probably more of it than most people, but no one actually understands all this, right? Like it needs everyone's brain to think creatively about it and try to understand it.
I love that. I want to just pick up from that, Ben. Thank you for that. Thank you guys for that answer. I appreciate it. I'm going to do, I'm kind of creative. I like to come up with things as we're flowing and talking because I feel like what we're all doing here and listening and giving opinion is so incredibly important. But the one thing you said that resonates with me is community. And I believe community is something that allows us to have the option. Without community, you don't have any options. And speaking of community, I'd like to ask 3 people within the audience, and I'm going to give the audience a chance to ask questions as well, but there are 3 groups that are here. They're all independents. They've all founded something, and they're building community. Without their community, we wouldn't have grown from 70 to 700 in less than 48 hours. We would have definitely not gotten to where it is. So I want to ask 3 community members, they're founders, to just come up and ask a question. Because as founders, what I've learned as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I don't know everything. I'm always failing upwards. I tell people when I fall, I get back up. But I'm not smarter than the people here on this couch. As a matter of fact, they're all 3 very, very much more smarter than me. But the smarts that I have is enough to try and bring them together to build community, because I know that there's power in numbers. So I'd like to introduce a woman who, you can sit. I'm going to get up. Don't go anywhere. Mercy's always escaping. Stay. Let's stay in the community. I'm going to introduce Noelle, who's the co-founder of Bad DAO. She's going to tell you a little bit about Bad DAO, and then she's got the choice to ask a question. You don't have to ask the question that I suggested. You can ask your own question because I think these four people are very open, and I don't know if it's oftentimes that a person who's built a DAO infrastructure would have a chance to have this uniqueness. Because a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization for those people who may not know the term. And I think it's an important aspect of community because a decentralized autonomous organization allows people to be a community, allows people to vote within a community, it allows people to make decisions within a community. So I think it's great that you ended on that note, and I'd like to introduce Noelle, pass the mic to her, and then I'd like for you, Noelle, if you could, when you finish and get your answer from whomever you choose, to either call Vincent or his co-founder, Jane. I don't know why it's not, I don't know, Janie, why am I always messing up your name? Janie, and Janie or Vincent, whomever decides to come up with, please ask Darlington, who is another independent. I'll let him tell you what he does. So I'm going to pass the mic to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Neff. And thank you all. So far, the conversation has been pretty engaging, pretty eye-opening. So like Neff said, I am Noelle, and I am a co-founder at Build a DAO, which is a DAO that is looking to onboard 10,000 owners, right? 10,000 founders. And this through the idea that once we own our things, and I'm not talking about buying a house or a car, I'm talking about owning ideas, owning our problems, owning our time, owning our space. Once we learn how to embody ownership from that level, then we're able to create solutions that are sustainable to us, right? And I like what you were talking about, Ben, when you were saying about, you said the quote about money, societies that run on money are the sign of a primitive society is one that depends on money. And we live in a world where, especially in Africa, the decisions are made on a day-to-day basis, and mostly it's not very much about money. Sometimes it's, people are subsistent, right? They plant their food, they live in a house they built, they're building communities on just the basics, right? Without the greed for more and more wealth. So I wanted to ask about a future where Africa isn't just participating in AGI, but actually governs parts of its evolution, given in mind that there are some dynamics that exist on the continent that are special to us. What does it look like when we govern the evolution of AGI?
Yeah, I think none of us knows that, but one interesting thing about AGI is sort of like the internet. It's evolving as a kind of parallel world to the standard governance structures, right? So, I mean, because like I can go online and I can chat with people in Iran, right? And I mean, the US where I'm living now doesn't like Iran, but that doesn't matter for sending email back and forth, right? The internet is off to the side. It's parallel to the standard governance structures, and AGI may develop that way as well, which is quite interesting. It means that the governance or guidance of the AGI mind, it doesn't have to be done by the UN or by governments, right? It can just be done by people who are building and interacting with the AGI. And that really comes back to decentralized deployment and management of the AGI, right? So like if you look concretely, like look at something like ChatGPT or Claude or DeepSeek now, right? Or GPT-5 has many different models underneath and kind of picks one for you. Like who's deciding how these AI models are biased or how they think? Like we don't even know as users, right?
Yeah.
And who's deciding is an expert committee inside some company, and they're not even publishing what their decision is. You're just getting the thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the way it could be is you could see openly everything going into the AI model, and then there could be some collective decision process among all the users of the model about like what bias goes into it, what knowledge goes into it, yeah, and why it's responding the way it is. And there's no technical reason you couldn't do that, right? And so DAOs as a decision-making infrastructure where humans and AIs together could collectively participate in decisions about what guides the mind of an AI system. I mean, that could be how it's done, right? It should be how it's done. And so for that, we need DAO infrastructure like you guys are building. And you also, though, need the cutting-edge AI tools to actually be open and be controlled by a decentralized network that's willing to accept the input of a DAO, right? Because right now, OpenAI and Tencent don't care what the DAO says.
Yeah.
What the DAO says anyway. So it's totally possible to have a collectively guided AI mind, right? And we know the governance mechanisms that could help with that.
Yeah.
But making it come out that way is complicated, mostly just because of economics, right? Because the bulk of money is behind these large centralized AI systems.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll ask Vincent or Janie. Iki piki ponki. Thank you. Thank you for that
Yeah,
response.
sure. Thanks for the question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists, and the opportunity to ask questions. I'm Vincent, founder at Adama. Adama is a builder residency and engineering lab situated here in Nairobi, running from 2021. Have a couple of questions to ask really quick, and these would go to Ben and Mercy on collaboration, and then on university integration, especially in pushing in the development and research around AI and decentralization, and also builder's perspective and on how more devs can adopt the technologies and ensure that the building and synergy keeps the momentum going. For Ben, I'll ask about the intersection of AI and Web3. This is in decentralization. So as a residency and engineering lab, how we can help in advancing some of or extending the AGI, especially because it's a very unpopular subject. There is scary in the tooling and infrastructure that is required to ensure developers can participate well. Maturity of toolings, especially with the infrastructure that you've provided within the developer ecosystem, resources and support that is there for developers that are trying to adopt this technology, the limitation that is there, and finally, then still, how are you helping in ensuring adoption that is there in the infrastructural level pushes your goal, ensuring AGI is well adopted?
Well, once you have AGI, it will be adopted because it will do so many amazing things that people need. So I don't think adoption of AGI itself is going to be a problem. Now, in terms of tool sets for building toward AGI, how to get your new tool set adopted by developers and entrepreneurs is an interesting challenge, right? And as a sort of upstart project like SingularityNET and the ASI Alliance and Hyperon, of course, we're competing with big tech tool sets, which are made by teams with a huge amount of money and polish, right? So, but on the other hand, I think we're now at a time where there's a real lot of interest in AGI as well as in AI applications. And there's also a widespread understanding of both the power and the limitations of current LLMs. Like, basically, when you start using LLMs, you're like, whoa, this is incredible. Like, these are smarter than most people I talk to, right? And then after you bang on them for a few hours, you're like, well, these are actually completely idiotic in some ways, and they don't actually know what's going on. And I mean, then you learn how to deal with them in a way that will get the value and dodge the stupidity, right? But if you're interested in building AGIs, or even building software that can solve practical problems in the workplace, right? Like, say, doing the job of an average, business person juggling between 10 different software platforms and databases all day, right? Or driving a car, or picking up garbage off the floor of your house, right? If you're facing these real-world practical problems, or trying to really build a thinking machine, I think a lot of smart technical people now have the sense that LLMs are only partway there, and there's some openness to, well, maybe we should be looking at some other methods also along with them. And what we're providing with our MeTTa language and our SingularityNET and Hyperon ecosystem is something concrete. Like, it's a concrete, specific thing. You can play with it, right? You can build stuff with it. It's different than Torch, TensorFlow, JAX, and the other tools for training deep neural models. It can work together with them. Now, it is at a fairly early stage of development. Like, right now, you can code in MeTTa, you can build applications. It doesn't run super fast. I'm used to that because during most of my career, software didn't run super fast because I'm old, right? But on the other hand, within the next few months, we're going to have super fast compilers for MeTTa, which makes it much easier to build scalable applications. So I did think, well, okay, maybe we wait for all the tooling to become more mature before trying to spread the word and try to reach out to developers. On the other hand, I decided in a way that was too condescending and not giving people enough credit. I figured, like, there's enough smart people out there who can see the promise of something that you can use and who can understand it's going to be scaled up over the next few months, and who want to get in early so that by the time we have the scaled up version that's setting the world on fire, like, they have a leg up and they already understand how to use the thing and what it's doing, right? Because the world moves very fast now, right? So if you want to succeed competitively, and now we're still in a domain of scarcity where things are competitive, right? So if you want to succeed competitively, you've got to be the right place first before everybody else, right? So we believe MeTTa is the right place, and we're giving people the opportunity to jump in and get there first before everybody else. Just like these guys from ICOG are there first, so now they're the ones going around teaching people around the world how to do it.
Yes. Collaboration.
I think collaboration. Okay. I mean, Ben has said most of it, but when we started WADA, we had a motto. We still have it. We don't repeat it as much, but we still have it, and that has been our guiding principle in a way. And it is that we add, every time you do an addition, it's a multiplication, right? We add to multiply. Yes, the world that we live in right now, we are still within a scarcity mentality. And because of that, there is competition. But what really multiplies is collaboration. And for us, especially from the WADA perspective, and even the way that we met Vincent and Adama and so on, it was by collaboration. We met him and his team. Met with Jane, and they were just so giving. And what we think is that for for the new world that we are sort of trying to enter, and especially for Africa, it needs to be by collaborating. And sometimes it's hard. People that collaborate, they look at the long term. People that want to, they are, some people very transactional, looking at what they will get today or tomorrow. In the long run, it just doesn't work. And I know that I'm being very general right now, but I just want to say that, especially as we try to get into AGI, that it's all going to be the hive mind. And that is why I so much agree with what Ben is saying, that it needs to be decentralized. We need to go to every corner of the world, and we need to bring all the cultures, and we need to bring all the minds. That is the only way that we can accelerate, because as we are adding, it doesn't become just a sum. All of a sudden, it becomes exponential. And that's the only way that we can achieve super intelligence.
Yeah, that's, that actually makes me think of unique strengths that Africa has culturally, which are kind of interesting. I mean, of course, you have all sorts of people everywhere in the world, and every city has introverts and extroverts and psychopaths and compassionate people. But on the whole, when I'm in Africa, I always get the feeling people are a little more human than in most parts of the world. Like, collaboration and communication are really woven into the culture. And I've been living in Seattle for 5 years now, after being in China for 10 years. And when I go home to Seattle from Ethiopia or Kenya, you get the feeling like, why are all these people like staring straight ahead and not speaking to each other, right? Like, it's a quite different cultural vibe, right? And I think the vibe of collaborating and like being human and speaking to each other and working together, like this is going to be very important. And it actually is. It is an advantage that Africa has in developing stuff, and it should be leveraged a lot in the next few years as we work toward AGI.
Yeah, I think our identities are very strong in Africa. So we are all part of some communities, and we know which community we are part of. And maybe it's not the global world community. We still have our villages, in a way. I wanted to say a word on the academics and how difficult it is to teach today with AI, not to say with AGI that's coming. Especially when you don't have lots of resources, you have huge classes, 100 students. How do you help them get better if we're still using an old system with grades, where you will grade papers and they can ask the AI to do the papers for you? So we have to rethink what we want to teach our students, what we want them to learn for the world. If today we are teaching, writing, reading, I think it was like
It should just be a pressure to not structure educational systems so badly, though, right? I mean, there's been a progressive education movement for a long time.
Yeah,
you don't bother to grade students, right?
You
don't have to give grades.
You can go to the Ivan Illich Deschooling Society also side, which is quite fun, and I like that approach also. And but I think we really need to teach the students to know themselves and to know what they like and what they would like to put effort in, because even with AGI, I mean, on my campus, we're still cutting the grass with machetes. We have a team of 10 people that cut the grass with machete, and already 10 years ago, I was thinking, why are you doing this? Guys, you can use a mown, and then the rest of one is using the mown, 9 over you rest, and then you share the salary. But I start to understand that actually they want to do something, right? They don't want just to earn money without doing anything. So you have to find in yourself where you want to put effort and where you are ready to struggle every day to give a meaning to your life. And you can only do that if you know yourself well. So I think that's one thing we need to help the students to learn when they come to university, and so to make them happy and reach a fulfilling, have a fulfilling life at the time when you have AGI that can do the other things. So that's what I wanted to say concerning education.
That was a great round. Yeah, are you gonna
Yeah.
chime in on that?
So I'm going to keep it short. Most of the topics have already been covered. So just to add, this MeTTa language is early and, as mentioned before, it's at its development stage, and there are not a lot of developers working on it. So, but there are pieces of it which will become more mature as more people will work on it, as more people are testing and experimenting stuff with it. So when the community grows, so will the language, so will different toolings, so will different way of building. So as a way of moving forward, I mean, more people will join and more people will help build the language alongside building the AGI as well. So yeah, just sort of like a call of an invite to the rest of the world to join in on this development path, I guess.
Just to add to this, that usually we like to struggle when we have fun. So I think it is, if you find it fun to code, and I think it's very fun to code AI and even more AGI, so that's a good reason why you should learn it and just to have fun also.
I will just jump in. There were some questions. Just a second, Vincent. You're a very smart guy. Hold on a minute. I don't have my back to camera, but there were some questions online, and I wanted to just read them out because we do have folks online here, guys. So we are being joined by people from around the world. And one of the questions, I'll put this out there. I will say to those people who are asking questions online that we'll ask folks here to answer those questions and to make sure that they get those answers. But I just want to put some of the questions out there in the ether because I think it's important for us to understand what people are thinking. And one of the questions is, what could accelerate AGI like GPUs did for generative AI? And I thought that was a really pretty prolific question to ask. I mean, considering the group, I think that's a really good thing to think about. And perhaps that will take us into the next session.
So I'll keep my answer to that.
Okay.
Short.
Well, I'm going to read one more. I'll read
What's that?
one more.
Why don't we do one at a time?
Because you can do double. Well, let's do one at a time. There's a lot of questions. But let's get that one answered.
I understand. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there are already next generations of hardware coming out. So it happens I'm wearing a T-shirt which advertises the black hole processor from a company called 10-Story. And what they have is new chips where the GPU and CPU share the same cache RAM, which is great for neural symbolic AI because logical reasoning uses CPU cores, whereas neural nets, which are good for many things, use the GPU. So that's one example. I mean, there's new chips in the pipeline already that are good for MeTTa, for example. I've also designed a MeTTa chip, which we're prototyping, and that will take a few years to come out into production. So I think there are new generations of hardware being developed. On the other hand, I don't know that we need those to get to AGI. I think we can get there using current processors. And one advantage that MeTTa has is the MeTTa infrastructure. The fast compilers will roll out later this fall. They make very efficient use of multi-core concurrency. So we may see a shift back to like multi-core CPUs rather than just GPUs. So better hardware will be valuable. It's not clear that it is actually required.
Okay, that sounds fair. I think that person would probably be very satisfied with that answer. I'd like to open it up to the room. If there's anybody out there that has a question, please stand or come stand next to me and ask your question. No, we've got Darlington. All right, I'd like for you guys to welcome this young man. He's the founder of the Blockchain Center, where we're doing our hackathon. And yeah, so Darlington, let me give you the mic.
Oh, that was.
Oh man, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I love it. I love it. Well, happy birthday. All right, and I'm really, really proud of you, man. And happy birthday. You're a father, you're a developer, you're a founder, You're a guy who's opened up community. We talked about community a lot. We talked about having space, holding space. So I'm very proud that we were able to come as a docu-series with WADA and SingularityNET, the guys from ASI that are supporting us on the back end, and all of the folks that are here that are supporting us in community, like Bad Dow, like Adamor, and all of the amazing people that we've met over the last week. So let me give you the mic and happy birthday, bro.
Thank you.
All right.
You spilled my secret. Thanks for the warm welcome. Well, I should. I was gonna say it. Introduction's already done, so I'll just go straight to the question.
You can sit next to these guys. Come. Yeah, that's right. Grab some community. I know guys need space, but you'll be all right.
One thing we try to do at the Blockchain Center is to involve other types of skills and expertise to the whole idea of building blockchain and setting some of these rules. Because sometimes when the technology is new, only the tech bro gets to play. So I'm wondering, and this can be a challenge within the blockchain space because you have to overcome so much technical know-how to even try to contribute as a marketer. And something like that, right? Or even as a designer to transform these complex ideas into visuals that people will understand. Where is AGI on that timeline? Like, when can the non-tech people start participating and how? If it's already here?
Well, I mean, AGI is not here, right? So, I mean, I think, yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and I always wish I had a better answer to it, actually. So we're trying to get to the point where we have a really good answer to it. Because, I mean, I think for tech people, the answer is very clear. Like, we have open source software projects, we have MeTTa, we have SingularityNET, we have a bunch of projects that anyone who can code can jump into, and they can help build the AGI mind, and they can help improve our infrastructure so it will serve their application. They can build applications. So for developers, or for anyone who wants to join a team with developers, right? Because, I mean, to build AGI products, you need not only developers, I mean, you need marketers, you need business people, you need a bunch of things, right? So, I mean, for those who either are tech geeks or who want to jump into a sort of entrepreneurial project with tech geeks, we're here right now, and that's sort of why we're doing the MeTTa Hackathon. For people who are not engaged with the tech world at all, I would say at this moment, AGI technology is not at that level of maturity, to be totally honest. Like ChatGPT is, right? Like anyone can jump in and chat with it. We're not quite at that level of maturity. I hope within the next, let's say 6 to 12 months, we will be. And this comes back to one of the conversations we had with regarding Bad Dow a moment ago. Like, where we'd like to be is you have some advanced proto-AGI systems, perhaps using MeTTa and Hyperon running on SingularityNET, and you'd like to have a situation where anyone in the world can jump in and guide the AGI and like help share their life story with the AGI. If they talk to the AGI and don't like its answer, explain why they didn't like its answer, and tell it what they think, right? And then everyone is contributing and providing guidance to the artificial mind as it grows in general intelligence, right? So we're not quite there yet. We could use developers to help build that thing, right? But I think it's not that far off, and it's important to get there, right? So that the AGI mind does incorporate all that feedback from everybody.
Great.
All right. Well, I'm going to open this up to the audience. If you guys don't mind, I know we've been here for almost. You can say, Darlington. You're out of here, birthday boy. All right. All right, God. I appreciate you. I know we're going to be wrapping out soon. First of all, I want to thank you all who are here in person. I want to thank everybody that's online. There are tons of questions that have been asked and answered. And aside from that, I think what's most important is the audience, right? And giving them a chance to have these questions answered by these groups of diverse individuals, founders, professors, doctors, producers like myself. Anyone in the audience have a question? Anybody in the hackathon have a question? Just stand up and let me pass the mic to you.
Should I come to the front? Or?
You want to be on camera?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to do this thing where people can sit and feel some energy,
Absolutely.
and it'll work well in the editing.
Yeah, so
Ask a question. And let's try and keep it curt. Our phones.
absolutely. Yeah, so thanks a lot for this opportunity, and yeah, I'm super honored to be part of the front seat. And yeah, my name is Wycliffe Osanov. I've had a vast experience in blockchain since 2017. I started out as a Bitcoin core contributor for like 5 years, and it kickstarted around 2019. And fast forward, after 5 years, I got a contract with an EVM chain that was kind of creating synergies between messaging Bitcoin contracts and EVM contracts. And yeah, it's been a remarkable journey focused primarily on protocol development. And aside from that, I also got onboarded with a Web3 educational platform known as HackQuest, and it's been a remarkable journey. And we kind of founded a platform this year known as BlockTech Radio, which is actually the first decentralized internet radio platform. So currently, I think part of our roadmap is to deploy AI agents that will be the hosts of our radio streams and broadcasts. So it's actually a concern currently with AGI, because we are shifting towards that narrative. And I have my co-founder over there called Stan.
I just want to get to the question.
Yeah.
You got your shirt on.
Exactly.
A lot of questions in the house. Let's get to the question.
Exactly. So the primary question is, will AGI kind of replace, or will AGI voices, because we are going to have algorithms representing radio streams, like people can just hop into the spaces and have conversations with our agents. So will it reach a point whereby AGI voices can kind of have like the same emotional storytelling weight like a real human, or
Sure.
will AGI outsource human storytellers?
Well, I think you will get to that point. I mean, right now, LLMs are not consistent, but the best of their writing communicates like human writing, right? And on the album that I recorded with my band, where Nefertiti was there in Mexico City, I mean, we had some AI-generated music in there, along with human-generated music. And AI-generated music, you can use it to imitate what humans do, or you can use it to express something more unique and AI-like, right? So to me, it's more interesting to use AIs to express what it is to be an AI, right? So having AIs imitate what it is to be a human is not the most interesting thing to do, but will it be possible? It certainly will be possible. Now, what that means for the future of music or art is a little complicated, right? Because I love seeing live music now, even though the audio fidelity is probably worse than sitting at home with headphones on, because I'm human and I like seeing the other humans up there playing, right? And I think humans are probably still going to like listening to music that is provably made by other humans, because it's just part of a human relationship between the musician and the listener. So just because AIs can imitate humans doesn't mean humans are obsolete at producing music or other forms of art. It will be complicated. Now, from a money point of view, sure, Spotify would just as well generate AI music, and then they don't have to pay the 0.001% they give to human musicians, right?
You're listening to AI music.
Yeah, they're already doing it. But the thing is, most musicians can't make money anyway. It's not AI's fault that musicians can't make money, right? That's the fault of human greed and the structure of the music industry. So I think that will happen, but you'll find I mean, if your decentralized internet radio is still flourishing after we have AGI, you're going to have a mix of AI-generated and human-generated music because people will want that, right?
Yeah,
Because
correct.
humans will still like other humans, right?
Yeah.
We have to introduce you to a gentleman named Danny Newcomb. I'll take the mic. He has a platform called Incantio. I feel really amazed that you asked that question because it's something I can kind of answer. But I'll just add to what Ben said, and it's a concern. It's a real concern because I think a lot of, do I need to bend down to get in that camera? There we go. A lot of artists such as myself are wondering, are you going to know the difference between my voice and the robot's voice? So Ben and his band, Jam Galaxy, just opened for Macy Gray. Macy Gray has been in the business for 25 years. Probably your parents, guys in this audience, are huge fans. I mean, she's sold millions of records. She's a generational voice. She's a very distinctive voice. So there's a very real reason why I thought it would be fun to introduce Macy to Ben, because her voice is one of the most distinctive voices to ever hit this world. She's just got a distinctive voice. I like to think my voice is distinct, but her voice is seriously distinct, and her Grammys make her very, very different than mine. And so when you think about humans and our connectivity and what we're doing now, that's something that I don't believe will ever change. And I think people like yourself will help us keep the differentials. I think that people will be able to tune in to what you're doing to perhaps know the difference. Because I think there are a lot of kids that are going to grow up now, like some people know 90s hip hop. I happen to think it was the best version of rap. But if you ask my little brother, he'll tell me trap is something really good. Or, there's other forms of hip hop that people like. And I think that because we're moving so quickly with technology, there will be tons of music that's AI generated, AI voice, that people will only know. They will only know that. So we have to do a great job of keeping it very distinctive. I think people like yourself have a huge responsibility. There's a kid that I know, his name is will.i.am. He's created an app called FYI. I'm sure you're smiling. So you know where I'm going with that, right? So I'm happy to see that there are other people that understand that frequency. But I would add that, there are all these rays. And I heard Will say this. I was on a panel with Will in France, and he shook the room up because he said, when are we going to figure out something else? And isn't that what this is? And it took me a minute to really resonate with that because there were so many different generations in the room, and a lot of people were somewhat offended. Some people were just like, wow, he's a genius. I was very perplexed because I hadn't looked at it from that lens. But I think that's a lens that could perhaps inform you in your business, is that there's always going to be something new, right? And I think as humans, we embrace new things because we make new things, right? So I don't think AI or AGI is ever going to be something that we can't claim responsibility for. The question is, Ben will differ. That's another that's panel number 2. Again, and that's the point. You can claim whatever you want, right? But we'll always know the truth, and we'll know the difference because our species has its history. And that, I don't want to get into my anthropological mind because that's what I went to school for, but that's another story. But I think the question was prolific, and thank you so much for it. Thank you. All right. All right, thank you. Is there anybody else out there? And congratulations on HackQuest. I see you. All right, come on, young lady. Yeah, come and have a seat on the couch. I like your outfit. Come on. Come on. No, it's better if you sit down for camera. We want you on camera. That's why I kneel down. I'm going to hand you the mic. Welcome.
Okay, so my name is Joan Wendo. I am a developer in the BuilderDAO community, and most importantly, I'm a vibe coder. So for context, vibe coding is where we code with AI. It basically takes development from 6 months to 2 days, hours even. So that's the question that brought me here, vibe coding in terms of like AGI. As someone who actively, works with vibe coding, I'm really interested in how MeTTa could fit into that workflow, right? So in the conversations with vibe coding, we have Model Context Protocol, which is MCPs. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of it.
Sure.
But they give context to the AI, and we don't really have to go through documentations, especially for those of us who aren't really averse with MeTTa, right? So, how important is the Model Context Protocol in making MeTTa accessible and usable for vibe coders like myself, who may not be deeply familiar with MeTTa? And do you see MCP as a crucial step for spreading MeTTa adoption in modern AI-assisted coding environments like Casa, Bolt?
So MCP is good for one reason. It's got adoption, right? I mean, it's not such a special protocol, but people are using it. So, I mean, and I think for some kinds of coding, vibe coding works very well now. So like I do some computer music coding, and I can use Cursor, I can use Windsurf, other such frameworks, and they know all the Python libraries for music and sound processing, so I don't have to look them up. So it works very well. You find as you do things that are less and less common, vibe coding works less and less well. So like these frameworks are really good at Python. If you try to do Julia, which is a scientific programming language, it's not as obscure as MeTTa, but not as popular as Python. Current vibe coding frameworks are maybe 80% right at coding Julia, so you have to fix a lot of stuff, and it almost isn't worth it. For MeTTa, I haven't yet found an LLM that's really good at coding MeTTa. Now, GPT-5 Pro is very slow, so I haven't tested it extensively. It's better than anything before. So that shows some promise. But I would say right now, you can't vibe code MeTTa yet. I think within a year you'll be able to, right? And either just through LLMs getting smarter, or through us using other AI techniques together with LLMs to make it work. Now, having said that will make it easier to build applications using MeTTa by just prompting, right? And that's fantastic. It doesn't take care of the work like the guys at ICOG are doing now, because if you're coding the guts of the AGI engine, or say the Linux kernel, the code isn't the problem, right? The problem is the concepts meets the math meets the computer science, and the LLMs are not yet good enough at that, right? So it seems like with vibe coding, things are sort of getting bimodal. Like almost all application development probably pretty soon can be just done by LLMs or by other AI tools. But then there's the guts of the tools themselves. And now once the AI is smart enough to code its own guts, like then you're into the singularity, right? But we're going to be for a while in a period where the AI is not smart enough to code the really hardcore stuff. It can still help, like it can generate unit tests for you, it can find libraries for you, it can do a lot of things, but you're still needing a lot of human genius there. So it does suggest, like from a career point of view, there's less and less role for someone who's like just good at programming. Like people who are just good at programming may not have a job in a couple years. Like there's a job for people who are super, super good and will code the way the MeTTa kernel works, or the way the Linux kernel works, or the way the AGI thinks. But all the sort of simpler forms of programming, they may go the same way as your work now, right? So for MeTTa, I think you will see MeTTa vibe coding probably within 9 or 12 months from now or something, but that will only cover certain things, right? It won't cover actually making the AI smarter. It will cover using the AI to do stuff.
Sorry, just a quick one. Why 9 to 12 months? Like, why don't you think it could be as soon as, in a month's time?
Well, because I don't think LLMs are smart enough to do it based on the amount of training data that we have. Like the reason they're so much better at Python than Julia, let's say, is because there's so much training data on Python, right? And so we're not going to generate a Python level of training data using MeTTa. I mean, one thing we do get from these hackathons is we get more MeTTa code to feed the models, which is good. But you're not going to get to the level of Julia or Prolog, let alone the level of Python, right? So if not getting there by generating a Python level of training data, you'll either get there by, okay, maybe GPT-6 can do it, or maybe we'll do it by building Hyperon that can do it with reasoning combined with LLM. So it's 9 to 12 months because we're waiting for the next generation of AI systems, basically.
Okay.
I mean, the other way would be like get 1 million programmers to code MeTTa in the next month, then you'll get enough training data, right? So we're trying, but it takes some time.
Well, thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, did you have something? Yes. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to bring the mic to you, and then we're going to wrap out, so you can do the wrap out for us.
I want to go back to the reason why we're here, because we are doing a hackathon and we are hacking. And it also goes back to the question that Darlington asked. Like over the past year, 2 years, a lot of us, when we hear about a hackathon, we are thinking of, okay, we learned this fancy new language and we want to play with it and see what we can do. We need to flip our thinking on really what hackathons are. For this particular program, we have shared some problem statements. And when we talk about problem statements, what that means is that we are solving, like there are these big problems that we want to solve. And the way that I link it to Darlington's question in terms of, okay, at this point, it's all about the devs. When are we going to bring everybody else in? If we flip our thinking that we are solving, we are hacking for humans, we are solving problems, then really we have a seat for everyone. Why do I say that? Because it's not just about the techies, right? It's not just about those that are coding. We also need like social scientists. We need people that can go out into the community and ask questions and bring that, to the solution, if you get what I mean. So it's not just the hackers. We need a broader participation. So for those of us that are forming teams, let's not think that it's all about the programmers. Let's bring in some marketing students. Let's think of some artists. Obviously, some front-end developers. And, let's bring as many people as possible in, because diversity is what enriches any solution that we want to develop. I just wanted to throw that out there, and I'll give it back to Nev to really, really wrap us up.
All right, thank you, sis. Thank you so much. I have to just let this one gentleman, he speaks German, by the way. This guy, I met this young man, come on. I met this young man, he came to, he's been coming to the Blockchain Center since day one. And so it wouldn't be fair if he didn't have a chance to ask this question. He's been waiting a long time for this, so please, it will be a good one, I'm very sure. And then right after that, we're gonna wrap out, thank you. Just tell you the name and maybe grab a seat.
Thank you, everyone, and my fellow colleagues who have come to witness the paramount event that has been in our presence. My first question to Mr. Dr. Ben is, what was your core problem-solving attitude that propelled you to build MeTTa?
Yeah, so the Hyperon AGI system, or would-be AGI system, is really the latest in a series of systems that I've been working on. And the first one was called WebMind, I built in the late 90s, and there was the Novamente new mind system in the early aughts, and there's OpenCog system we launched in 2008, and then MeTTa we started on 2021. So all these systems had the same technical philosophy. Like we have a big graph, or like a weighted labeled metagraph living in RAM of machines. You can run a network of machines, and you could represent any sort of knowledge in this graph, like procedures, how to do stuff, logical knowledge, neural nets, memories, images, right? And then the evolution of these systems over time was really about efficiency, like how can you make doing complex manipulations on a huge in-RAM knowledge graph be reasonably fast, right? And like what NVIDIA has done is made matrix multiplication really fast, which allowed neural nets. If we can make manipulations on this huge knowledge graph be really fast, then we can enable a much richer variety of AI methods to work at large scale. And we do see from ChatGPT and such how valuable large scale is, right? So MeTTa really is, it's started as a language for an AI to use to reprogram its own brain, right? So MeTTa is a language for rewriting parts of a knowledge graph into other parts of a knowledge graph, and the MeTTa programs themselves are stored as as parts of the knowledge graph. But then we realized to get it started, you want humans to program in this language, and then you're providing the seed that the AI then uses to keep reprogramming itself. So I would say, in terms of your question, the problem-solving approach really was one of reflecting a long time on how the mind works and how thinking works, all the different kinds of learning, reasoning, and memory. And so starting from the cognitive level, then you go to the math level, and you say, well, okay, all these ideas about how the mind works, we can embody in this self-modifying graph structure. And I was a mathematician originally, right? Then you go from the math level to the software level and try to figure out how, using current computer architectures, could you realize this math in an efficient way. So I think that's how a lot of AI people in my generation had to think, because the software ran very slowly and was hard to work with. So you had to think through everything for years really deeply before writing the code. Whereas now writing code is so fast, or prompting code is so fast, you can get results so quickly. You're never going to sit there like 2 years and think something through before coding something. But the way this came about was quite old-fashioned, because it came about at a time when you would think for years about how the mind works before boiling it into math or code, which I guess is the same generation Dr. Malik came from, really. Yeah.
Okay, the other question is that as you see MeTTa evolving over other languages, how do you perceive on MeTTa compared to other logic programming languages?
Well, MeTTa, M-E-T-T-A, is also very meta, M-E-T-A, right? So in terms of logic programming or logical theorem proving, we're not trying to build any particular logic into MeTTa. So you should be able to put, a first-order predicate logic, higher-order predicate logic, term logic, paraconsistent logic, fuzzy logic, whatever. So it's supposed to be like a meta paradigm that you could put any kind of logic into, and then you can develop, a scalable verifier or prover for that logic. So it's whereas Prolog, for example, as the classic logic programming language, it bakes in a certain first-order logic and a certain approach to horn clause resolution that's like baked into the plumbing of the language. So this gets technical, but really the big challenge with MeTTa has been, how do you achieve a super high level of generality, but still make a very efficient compiler, right? And this is why the current MeTTa compiler is not that efficient, but we did figure out how to make an efficient compiler, which currently exists, and we're now integrating with the whole infrastructure, right? So it's different than other logic programming languages in that it doesn't commit to a specific logic at the foundational level. I would say, on the whole, though, going back to the previous question, a year from now, most meta coding will be vibe coding, right? And then only people who are building the really hardcore stuff will be programming in meta. So it may end up a bit like CUDA or something there, right? Like you've got that CUDA code there in your libraries, but most programmers don't ever have to deal with it, right? Because they're using Python just to reference via some library. And I cooked up a scheme called PyMeta, where you could just wrap up a whole bunch of AI functions coded in Meta, but wrap them up in Python libraries. And then you could vibe code it very easily, because vibe coding likes Python. But I mean, going back to Yapsira's comments, like, how do we get PyMeta built, right? Well, having collaboration of this community in making this whole PyMeta framework a reality would be helpful, which is kind of the stage we're at now.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I'm going to wrap us out of here. We're about 20 minutes over our time, but I do just want to say one thing. Thank you so much, young man. Stay here. I just want to say, you guys, I think Africa's developers aren't just learning AGI, they're shaping the future of AGI. And that's what we're doing here. We're shaping the future of AGI individually and as a community. So I want to thank WADA, I want to thank Adamor, I want to thank Badao, SingularityNET, all the guys at ASI, Beyond the Code. We're building our basics platform. I want to thank Malik, who's come all the way from Liberia, and I want to thank the guys from ICOG, all the young men and the young lady who flew out to make this happen. Also the Blockchain Center, thank you for hosting us. The hackathon continues. There are so many people online. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed at the amount of people that are actually participating. It's a pretty large amount. I don't know. It wasn't that I wasn't expecting this outcome. It's that the community has commanded this outcome. It's brought it together because the community spoke and said, this is what we want. We want to learn something new. So thank you again, Ben, for spending your time here in Nairobi with us. I'm having an incredible time. If you haven't joined the WhatsApp, join the WhatsApp. It's where it's at. Lots of information there. If you haven't joined the team, people are asking to join teams. So if you want to add someone to your team, don't just think about the bag. Think about the team and think about what you guys can build together. And I'll say, I guess I'll see you at the Blockchain Center, and continue hacking and good luck. Thank you so much and good night. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Yeah, pretty good.